A very good evening, everybody. Audience connecting from different parts of the world. Welcome to 360 Digit MG. Welcome to our YouTube channel. This is an initiative that we have done. We have with me, I have Barney and Sharat. Both of them need no introduction. They are the doyens in the space of data science and its allied functions. They have worked extensively. I'm assuming many of you who have joined are participants who have undergone your training from 360 Digit MG. I'm also welcoming participants or people from other training institutes or other job seekers in the space of data scientists. All right, so the objective of this particular session that we are doing today, we at 360 Digit MG have been continuously trying to upgrade and enhance the various deliverables towards the participants with a vision for their success. And success is measured in just one attribute, and that is getting a job. So we've conducted many interview preparation sessions. We have used various methods. We've tried various permutation combinations, and we felt that something was a little lacking. The throughput wasn't that great. So what we have now decided is to not only give you the right answer, but also give you the wrong answer or the incorrect answer and let you know what are the do's and the don'ts, both in one forum, which way you will be able to understand better or be able to answer in a better way. So we are going to have a kind of a role play. Mr. Sharat, who's an exceptional data scientist who has extensively worked in all the fields, has very graciously consented to be the Mr. Superior. Now, that is, of course, in a slightly sarcastic way, we are mentioning as a person called Mr. Superior, who has been trained supposedly in a training institute, a fictitious training institute called Inferior Training Institute. All right, so Mr. Sharat will play the role of a person who, of all the don'ts that one must take care when an interview is being asked, and an interview asks questions. Mr. Barney, who will be playing the role of Mr. Bright Bulb, BB or Bright Bulb as we call it. He is obviously trained from 360 Digit MG, which is us. And his responses will be categorized under the do's or the correct responses. So thank you once again, Barney and Sharat, for consenting to this kind of a role play. And most importantly, thanks, Sharat. I'll be referring to you as Mr. Superior because the rationale or the logic is that people from not so good training institutes or not so good institutions, they do some small slipshod training and they think that they know everything in data science. So that's the rationale behind that. So I'll be doing that. To briefly introduce myself, I'm Nitin Mishra. I'm also one among the senior folks in 360 Digit MG. I shall remain nameless. I'm just the interviewer. I don't have to, call out my name. I'm not taking any role. I'll just be taking the role of the interviewer. So thank you. Thank you, Barney. Thank you, Sharat. And let us all get into character. So let's begin. My questions will be directed to Sharat first, that is Mr. Superior. And after the response of Sharat, it will be Barney who will respond to the same question. And we will then discuss quickly about what is wrong and what is right in that. So let's begin. First question any interviewer asks is, kindly introduce yourself. Mr. Superior, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. My name is Superior, and I'm a graduate in computer science from LMNO College. I passed out my graduation in year 2021, and I have a GPA of 8.7. I also have one sister. She is currently pursuing her graduation. My father works as a government employee, and my mother is a homemaker. I have a couple of interests. I like playing cricket. I do watch a lot of news, and that's how I keep myself abreast with the latest of the information that is current affairs basically happening around the world. So basically, that's typical me.
Wrong answer. One word, two words, wrong answer. Now let us hear Mr. Brightbulb give a better answer to that. Mr. Brightbulb, I think your webcam is, your mic is turned off. I'm sorry, we are not able to hear. Sorry to stay in character, please. There is some technical issue. It happens. So how you get over the how do you get over this also is an important thing. It's a good thing we have this issue. So generally gesticulations or hand gestures, please wait, sorry, things like that is what we should do while we fix this issue. Nope. Nope. Also, please remember, audience, that when you have a technical issue, if you're having a technical issue and if the person, if they are not able to hear you, they cannot, you also may not be able to hear. So hand gestures or text messages is very important. So we'll just wait while Barney fixes the issue.
Hey, sorry, Mr. Nitin, are you able to hear me now?
Yes, we are able to hear you, Mr. Brightbulb. Let us get back into character.
Okay, so this was Murphy's law in action, in life. So whatever can go wrong will go wrong when the situation actually warrants that your mic has to work, because this is an interview. Hey, sorry. Okay, despite that, my mic wasn't working. So Murphy's law at action. All right, extremely sorry for that, for the inconvenience that is caused, and sorry for keeping you wait, Mr. Nitin. Yeah, my name is Mr. Inferior, and I hold a master's degree in computer science. I have 17 plus years of experience while I work with a lot of companies. My experience was predominantly into the space of financial analytics or into the space of financial services and insurance. Right? Having had experience of 17 years, I thought to switch into the career of data science, and I got trained through the institute called 360 Digit MG. They've actually trained me on a lot of analytics, a lot of data science concepts, including financial analytics. So thanks to them, I could also gain knowledge in the space of domain analytics. And my experience throughout has been into finance, and financial analytics makes more sense, is what I feel. I also hold a certificate from IBM. I'm a certified data scientist from IBM. I also hold a certificate from University Technology Malaysia, and I'm a certified data scientist. They have also endorsed me for my skills. I also have a certificate in the space of financial analytics. And I also have a postgraduate diploma certificate from State University of New York. So these are the bunch of certificates that I have, which backs my knowledge. And I've also worked on 4 different projects in the space of financial analytics, and I would certainly talk more about that if you permit me to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And that is definitely a much better answer than what was given previously. So what we need to understand here, audience, is that we are not here to listen to your resume once again, what Mr. Superior did. On the contrary, the objective is to understand the communication skills and also to know about the out-of-the-box answers and answers that pertain to the job for which the person is applying. Whether you like cricket or whether you like watching movies is none of the concern of the person interviewing. How good you are a candidate or how well you are matching for the job requirement is something at every opportunity one needs to respond. So that's essentially the right way. I have often seen in mock interviews people giving the answer like what Mr. Superior has given. Thinking about yourself means totally personal. So that's on that note, we shall move on to the next question, which will be again to Mr. Superior. So, Mr. Superior, you've mentioned in your resume that you've done a project. All right. Can you briefly explain about the project, the steps undertaken in that?
Well, Mr. Nitin, the project that I worked on was for a customer who was dealing with the cars sales. We have a lot of new companies coming up with where we have second sales basically. So for that particular company, I was assigned to predict the mileage of a particular vehicle, provided the features of the particular car. So I was given the data by the client, and I used various machine learning, supervised learning techniques like regression, multiple linear regression. And I tried to measure the accuracy using RMSE calculations. And I tried to do some kind of a transformations, tried four different transformations, and I identified the best model among those four, and we shared that particular code by doing the deployment using the model at the client side, and the accuracy that I got was 95% approximately on the test data that I have obtained from the client.
Once again, I think it's pretty much self-explanatory. I won't say it's pretty much self-explanatory. This was a very common answer that we often get. People immediately jump into the explanation of the project with an assumption that the person who's asking the question has a fair understanding of what the project is all about. And he's the one who probably has given the project. So I think we will first hear Mr. Inferior, actually the bright bulb, but Mr. Inferior, his response for the same question, and then we will discuss about the do's and don'ts.
Yeah. So thank you so much for asking me the question pertaining to the project that I've worked upon. And first of all, we have done this project for one of the leading clients from United States of America. And we try to understand the business problem from the client. And the client was saying that a lot of people were taking the loans and they were running away without repaying. They were absconding. And they are called as defaulters, like you're already aware of. And we have then formulated the objectives and constraints and documented a project charter in which we clearly listed that the business problem was to minimize the fraud happening. And in the due course, when we brainstormed, we felt that we can just simply build a prediction model and then give a prediction saying that, hey, there's 90% probability that someone would default. And based on that, you would reject the loan. If we continue rejecting the loans in this way, we also understood that profits would shrink, profits of the company, of the bank. Hence, we put a constraint saying that while we try to minimize the fraud, we also need to maximize the profits. So now it gave a different dimension to think through as a data scientist. Post that, we have done a research to understand what are the similar kind of projects we have solved. And we figured out that in the past, we have done one similar kind of a project. So we looked at what are the various features that we have used to solve the business problem. And we requested for the data, for a similar kind of data from the client, and the client has supplied us that data. And that data, they did not give it to us in an Excel format or CSV format, because then the data has to be stored on your computers, and that's against the data privacy norms. So they have given us access to your SQL server. They were using PostgreSQL, in which they had the data. And we have, using the permissions that they have provided to those variables, we could pull that data into our Python. And then we have done the analysis. We have done the data pre-processing. We have spent majority of the time identifying the outliers, cleaning the data, performing imputation, because there were certain values which were missing. And then we have also normalized the data, given that different variables were of different scales. Post that, we got into the process of building models. And we understand that we need to give interpretation to this client, because the client was from financial services insurance. So we ended up building a decision tree model and logistic regression model. Both of these have a lot of interpretability in that. We can explain the end results to the customers who have applied for the loan. If you're rejecting a loan, we can say why we have rejected, just in case they come back asking for additional information on why their loan was rejected. But this alone didn't solve the purpose. We were able to meet the business objectives. Our model was 90% accurate, all wonderful. But then client put a constraint saying that you need to also maximize the profits. So we built another model, which is called as survival analytics, which predicted on not just whether a person will default or not. Of course, we have built decision tree and logistic regression to say what is the probability of someone defaulting. But the survival analytics has also told us after how many installments a person will default. Then we liaise with the customer. We understand their business logic. And they were saying that if there is more than 50% probability of someone defaulting, then they would reject the loan. They have given us those business rules. If the probability of someone defaulting is less than 50%, they would approve the loan. Once we got these business logics, we implemented the business logic also into the code, into the Python program, and thereby the customer need not even look at the result and take a decision. The moment the probability of someone defaulting is greater than 50%, would automatically reject the loan. And once we have done this, we have deployed the model using Heroku, which is a deployment platform. Using that, we have deployed the model because the end user wanted a kind of interface, web interface. Obviously, I cannot give the code and expect the client to run the Python code, right? So there, the end users were supposed to give just the inputs and click on submit, and they would see the results for themselves in the application. That was shared with the loan department. Post that, as a performing organization who is doing the project for the client, we had an additional responsibility of generating more business also. And I work for XYZ company, right? And XYZ company backed this project from the client. And what we have done is we have told to the client that we would be doing the monitoring and maintenance of the project on an ongoing basis. If at all the accuracy is dropping, we would retrain the model. And we told that once in every quarter, once we get the new data, we will again retrain the model so that the accuracy jumps from 90% to 91, 92, so on and so forth. And for this monitoring and maintenance, we have used a tool called as Evidently, which is a tool which is used for monitoring and maintaining the model. And this is how we have handled the entire project. And we have used Crisp MLQ framework to handle the entire project end to end. Thank you so much. If you have any further questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Absolutely right. And as quite evident by the detailed explanation, which has covered the entire Crisp MLQ framework, right from the word go, the first phase to the last phase, everything has been covered in that step by step, right from the business objective all the way, to the deployment, monitoring, and maintenance. So all the phases were nicely covered. The client is not expected to know Crisp MLQ. You don't have to teach Crisp MLQ. We follow Crisp MLQ. Therefore, the first phase of Crisp MLQ, that attitude or that focus wasn't done. The whole thing was explained. And subsequently, it was told that what we have done works on the CRISP MLQ framework. So you're not putting the interviewer in a defensive spot. What is this person talking of that I do not know? But at the same time, you have explained everything in threadbare detail. Now, when you give explanations in so much detail, it is difficult for the interviewer to ask follow-up questions about the same topic, and they generally tend to move to the next. But if you give incomplete or incorrect answers or answers that have more detail, that gives them an opportunity for them to grill you further into that, and that is where you get stuck up. So that was an amazing thing. Thank you so much, Mr. Inferior. So my next question would be, all right, I want you to explain to me this project in the context of data, right? You've explained the project, you've mentioned everything, but I want you to explain it in the context of the data, the relationship between the two. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you. So we received the data from the client, and that was in our CSV format, which is basically a text format. And we had approximately 2,500 rows and around 10 columns. And out of that, there were certain columns which were not required, like the car manufacturer name and all that. For doing the prediction, we don't need to have that information. So we eliminated certain columns and we zeroed in on 7 columns, out of which the one of the column that we wanted to predict was mileage. And we, as I explained, we used multiple linear regression, wherein it tried to bring up the mathematical equation to predict the mileage with the remaining 6 factors. And we evaluated the accuracy of the particular model by splitting the complete data that we had into train and test. And once we built the model, we compared the model's accuracies, and we found that the accuracies were fairly similar, accurate. And we had, as I mentioned, close to 95% accuracy on the training data set and around 80% accuracy for test data set. This is what we did, Mr. Nitin.
Okay. So that is probably the epitome or the highest level of how a wrong answer can be. The question was, talk about the...
My life be like...
I'm so sorry. The question was with reference to the the project with reference the activity or the project with reference to the data, and the explanation or the database was explained very briefly about rows and columns, which nobody is interested in, and then went off again into the modeling and the accuracy, etc., which was digressing. The question was the objective of the question was lost. So let us now listen to Mr. Inferior from 360-digit MG give an explanation about the project that he has done in the context of data.
Sure. So first, we have done appropriate research to understand what are the key variables which are needed for our analysis, and then we got those from the client. Nevertheless, while we were trying to analyze, the previous project that we have done was in the Indian context, and this project was being done from the US context for a US client. So the moment we got the data, we understood each and every variable, and we tried to understand the data set itself. We had 20,000 rows and we had 17 variables. Then while we were analyzing each and every column, we figured out that there was a column called as gender. And gender as such should not be used in the model building when it comes to loan default predictions, because then your model will be biased towards a specific gender. So we removed that. We also had a column called as date of birth. Date of birth as such wasn't making a lot of sense. So we converted that using feature engineering. And we have come up with a new variable, which is age in years. So that variable was making a lot of sense. And we also had a column called as income of a person. And when we have done analysis, we figured out that income was following an exponential distribution. And to capture the patterns of that variable, we had to do a log transformation. So we have also done transformation. In a few of the other columns, we had seen that a few values were missing. When we have gone back to the client saying that, hey, can we get back the data, get the data for the missing cells? They told that we don't have access to the data. So we had to do certain imputation techniques, and we have done something called as mice, which is one of the techniques for doing imputation. And once we imputed, and once we have done outlier analysis, and once we have dealt with all the outliers using techniques such as grain serialization, etc., we got the right kind of data for our model building. So we prepared the data for our modeling phase. And once we got into the modeling phase, then we have split the data into training and test. Then when we trained on the data set, we have figured out or shortlisted a few algorithms which have the interpretation capabilities, because that was our end objective. We also wanted to build a model which has the interpretation capabilities. So for all these algorithms, then we figured out what are the various hyperparameters for decision tree and for logistic regression. And we have applied all those hyper parameters, and then we have done a lot of experiments. We have done close to 120 experiments using grid search techniques, which will automate the experiments. And then ultimately, we have selected one algorithm which was giving us the highest accuracy. And we have selected that specific model, and then we have tested on the test data. We figured out that the model was giving very good accuracy of 90%. Then we have actually deployed the model in production. And then we have also given it to the client to experiment. And then they have experimented on a few other data points, additional new data points that they had, and they were happy with the results. And thereafter, we have deployed the model in production. And we have also maintained the version of the data, because if the client asks us to reproduce the results, the client says, hey, you're saying that you got 90% accuracy, go prove it once again before us by sharing your screen. For that, we need to ensure that the data version which we have used has to be maintained, and we have maintained the data versioning as well. Right? And one more thing which I have actually missed out was data validation. We wanted to figure out whether the data was of right quality or not. For this, we have done a lot of exploratory data analysis, and we figured out that as and how the age of the person was increasing, income of the person was increasing, the number of defaulters, the people who were defaulting, as and how the income increases, was actually reducing. So these kind of EDA techniques have actually helped us figure out that yes, the data was of good quality, and only then we have processed all these steps that I've just spoken about. And we've also clearly mentioned in the note saying that any future data coming would actually work only if the new data is within the range. For example, income, if it is in the range of $6,000 to $12,000, age, if it is in the range of 28 years to 36 years, only then it works. Because the data on which we have built the model was in that specific range. This is how we have given the project. And we have also mentioned notes saying that if you have more than 20% of data additionally getting generated, you have to retrain the model, because the model that we built cannot obviously work for the rest of the life. And thereby we have, one last thing was, we've also looked at what is it that we have promised to the client in the beginning, and did we actually achieve those success criteria or not. We have told them that we'll help you reduce the loan defaulters by 3%. Were we able to meet that or not on the test data? We also told that we'll help you get an accuracy of greater than 85%. Did we actually meet that or not? And we've also promised to the client that this would help you save approximately $500,000 to $600,000. And when we tested on the test data, it actually did. So whatever success criteria we have given has actually helped out. Yeah, thank you so much.
So excellent. That is definitely a much better answer, a much detailed one. And that's all we have time for today. So I'd request Barney and Sharath to step out of character. Thank you so much for playing along. All right. This entire experiment that we have done today is to make you understand what are the ways you can go wrong. The right ways are being told, but we should also be aware, because we think we are doing it right, but we may unless not it's clearly pointed out to us that this is exactly what is wrong, we may not be able to be aware of those things. So that was the intention why Sharath has taken the role of a person who's fumbling everything, only for the script, and that was the the objective of that. So what I like to do is I'll quickly share some of the notes that I have while we were discussing, taken, which you can, and this will be nevertheless available. This is a very rough note, but it will be available in a PDF format as running notes. So the first question was, please tell about yourself. Now, what are the things that one must ensure? All details must relate to the job that being offered. No one is interested in personal details. All right, maybe one, maybe two lines at best. All information relate to the job description. All information should be about your qualification, certification, knowledge levels, etc. Try to push all those information at the time of the introduction. Now, when we are talking about the project, like I said, we are all aware, at least participants of 360-digit MG are aware about the CRISP MLQ framework. So the CRISP MLQ framework, without having to mention about the things, you can see here, you can say, these are the things, these are the steps: brief about the client, brief about the business problem, objective constraint, research on similar data, data collection, sources of data and pipeline, data pre-processing, so on and so forth. And finally, like I said, deployment, how you have done, and monitoring and maintenance. If you've used any tools, mention those tools as well. All right. Any and every tool that you have touched upon, mention them. That gives an impression you're aware. The next question, the last question, was project and the data in the context of data. All right. What is the data required? What are the variables? What are the sources? The data validation and the EDA study that has been done. Explanation about the features, transformation, and why. Why do we need to transform? Why do we need to do feature engineering? The explanation about that. What are the data pre-processing that you have done? Name whatever has been done. What are the types of modeling? Partition, proportion of train, test, validate. What are the hyperparameters? Any cross validation, grid search, all those things with reference to what you have worked on the data. How the new data points have been worked, and obviously the ultimate is the version control. So if you are able to touch base for each of these questions I've given at a high level, what are all the aspects that one needs to touch? This would, assist you in your, making things definitely much more smoother, much better, and the chances of acing the interview is going to increase much more. Barney and Sharath, anything you'd like to add, please?
Quickly, I'll take a minute. So friends, from tomorrow onwards, every day from 6:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. IST, you will have these sessions. Tomorrow, we will get into one of the concepts, one of the topics, probably the business and data understanding phase. And then we'll have interview questions specific to those, so that we delve deeper into each and everything. And every algorithm will be taken up on one day, and we're going to ask a Q&A. We'll do a Q&A. Nitin, the interviewer, would ask me, the inferior from a superior training institute, and we'll also ask questions to Sharath, and then we are going to answer. And we also are having a mind map in place. All the questions and what are the do's and don'ts are being documented by Sharath. Nitin is documenting a Word stuff, and that will be converted into a PDF. It will be a running document. Both of these will be placed on our LinkedIn. Okay, so please follow our page. It will be posted on our LinkedIn only. And you can access the interview questions mind map and the PDF document from that. And second thing is, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, because the events will be created and you'll be notified. Just in case you forget, you'll be notified. So you need to click on the bell icon also, so that you get notified with an email whenever the session happens. Thank you all so much. Monday to Friday, daily, there'll be interview preparation sessions. All the best. Do notify your friends, relatives, well-wishers who might get benefited from this. Thank you.
Thank you, Barney. Thank you, Sharad, for consenting for the role play exercise. Thank you. Bye.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye.